Prescription products require completion of an online medication consultation with an independent healthcare provider through the LifeMD platform and are only available if prescribed. Subscription required. Individual results may vary. Additional restrictions apply at lifemd.com. Read all warnings before using GLP-1s. Side effects may include a risk of thyroid C-cell tumors. Do not use GLP-1s if you or your family have a history of thyroid cancer.
If you've struggled for years to lose weight and have given up hope, did you know you can now access GLP-1 prescription medications through LifeMD? LifeMD is now offering eligible patients online access to GLP-1s, the breakthrough prescription medication that can help you lose body fat and weight. Listen to what people are saying.
Probably the easiest thing I've ever done. The medication comes in the mail and it's very easy to use. I've been able to live my normal lifestyle and I've lost 20 pounds already and I've never felt better. It changed my life.
And here's the best part. Your insurance may cover 100% of the cost of your medication. So go to trylifemd.com to have your eligibility checked right now. Get started today at trylifemd.com. That's trylifemd.com.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Baker's, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Baker's worth it every time. Baker's, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Unravel the secret conspiracies in the Shire as we unveil the true depth of friendship in Middle-earth. We'll see how conspiracy is turned to friendship, how Frodo's quest isn't an isolated story in Middle-earth, and just how deep Sam's loyalty really is. Today we finish exploring the 5th chapter of JRR Tolkien's Fellowship of the Ring, A Conspiracy Unmasked. Make sure you tap that follow button so you don't miss out on any new episodes. If you love this episode, please leave a 5-star rating. Every rating helps more wanderers to wander Middle-earth with you and I. And if you're really loving the show, I would be truly honored if you tapped that share episode button, sent a link to the show to a friend of yours, and invited them to wander Middle-earth with us. Now, let's wander. Let's check the map. For our new listeners, these map checks are inspired by the beautiful maps that accompany the Lord of the Rings books and are intended to help you keep up with the story. It is the 3rd age of Middle-earth. Frodo has arrived in Crickhollow, a secluded house in Buckland, east of the Shire. He is taking the ring to Rivendell in order to keep the Shire safe. His friends, Merry, Pippin, Sam, and Fatty, have helped him along the way, providing support and comfort on the dangerous road. Frodo dreads having to tell his friends of his decision to leave them behind and go alone into the wild, despite Gandalf's advice. However, a conspiracy swirls around Frodo that he has yet to discover. In my Houghton Mifflin 2002 edition, this is pages 100 through 106. In our previous episode, we began to explore the nature of Frodo's friendship with the other hobbits. Today we'll see just how well they know Frodo and his secrets. Frodo has been dreading how to tell his friends that he's leaving soon, but Pippin and Merry have already pieced the plan together. In fact, when Frodo falters about where to begin telling them, Merry steps in and says it out loud for him, quote, "You are miserable because you don't know how to say goodbye." He explains Frodo's plan to leave the Shire and unexpected timetable since danger is now beset around them. Frodo is, of course, completely surprised. He thinks he's kept this secret to himself. But his friends have been watching for clues, and some of them are quite obvious, like Frodo asking himself out loud if he would ever see certain parts of the Shire again. But Merry has another surprise altogether. He knows about Bilbo's ring. Apparently, he witnessed Bilbo slip on the ring and become invisible just to avoid the Saxville Bagginses. Merry would have been one of the 3 people who wasn't surprised when Bilbo disappeared at the long-awaited party. But why he didn't tell Frodo about his knowledge of the ring for 17 years is not really explained, beyond his impression of keeping it secret, as Bilbo plainly intended to do. Merry seems to be the chief organizer of what he calls, quote, our conspiracy, the main goal of which was to watch Frodo and make sure he didn't slip off into the wild all on his own. In reality, this group of conspirators is the first rendition of the Fellowship of the Ring. Unknown to Frodo, but a fellowship nevertheless that banded together to support and help the ring-bearer. So if you've only seen the movie or you've read the book and you're wondering why the Fellowship isn't formed until over halfway through the story, in reality the Fellowship actually starts much earlier. and I can't remember exactly if Elrond in the book calls the group the Fellowship of the Ring once they formed and decided to take the ring to Mordor, but I do know that from that point on, Tolkien will write it as the Company with a capital C. But the Fellowship began long before Frodo decided to leave, with Merry as the leader and another hobbit as chief investigator. More on that in a moment. I want to take a moment and point out a major difference between book Pippin and film Pippin. In the film, Pippin provides a great laugh line. When at Rivendell, after the Fellowship has been formed, he says something like, "You need people of intelligence on this mission, quest, thing." And Merry leans over and says, "Well, that rules you out, Pip." It's funny, and it fits with the comedic relief character that Pippin is in the film. But contrast that line with what Pippin says at this moment in Crickhollow. And mind you, Pippin has been with Frodo for several days, on the road already, and has already seen many encounters with the Black Riders. He says, quote, "Merry and I are coming with you. Sam is an excellent fellow and would jump down a dragon's throat to save you, if he did not trip over his own feet, but you will need more than one companion in your dangerous adventure." To me, this shows Pippin as a more intelligent hobbit, who has considered the dangers and clearly has a complicated opinion about Samwise. And it also provides a richer depth to Pippin's and Merry's bravery and willingness to accompany Frodo. They are under no pressure from Gandalf, no bidding by the elves to go with Frodo. Indeed, their willingness is as pure and unpressured as can possibly be. And that shows the true depth of their friendship with Frodo. Not to be left out, but Fredegar Bolger, also known as Fatty, volunteers to stay behind at Crickhollow. His objective is to misdirect people and make them believe that Frodo really has taken up residence at Crickhollow for as long as possible, even wearing some of Frodo's clothes around the house. Clearly, these hobbits have been thinking about this plan for some time, and while Fatty loved Frodo, he had no desire to leave the Shire. But this role will prove to be extremely dangerous in the coming days, and we must hope that Fatty is up for the challenge. We'll get to that in a future episode. We need to explore the role of the final conspirator in the group, but before we do, I want to point out some Lord of the Rings lore. I find two lore clues in this chapter where Tolkien is reminding us that Frodo's quest is only part of a much grander, more epic saga than simply a walk through the Shire. The first is the going away song the hobbits sing, which, as we're told, is, quote, made on the model of the dwarf song that started Bilbo on his adventure long ago and went to the same tune. Let's compare these two songs. The song in Fellowship is much shorter than the one in The Hobbit, but it is still a song to be sung on the eve of departing for a long journey. Where the dwarves in The Hobbit sang about their ancient home and reclaiming it from the dragon, the hobbits here sing about Rivendell, and also tie back to the idea of the road verse that has popped up a couple of times already in the line, quote, and whither then we cannot tell. We find in both songs this line, quote, we must away ere break of day, which speaks to the willingness to start the journey early, to get up and moving and closer to the goal. Pippin derides the idea of starting a journey before the break of day, saying that it was just poetry. Clearly he wants to sleep in now that he can sleep in a bed rather than on the road. I don't blame him. These songs are a microcosm of the two stories, The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. Where in The Hobbit, the adventure was to reclaim a treasure and return home. In contrast, in Fellowship, the hobbits seek to lose a treasure that was unintentionally picked up from the first. In both instances of these songs being sung, the main hobbit, Bilbo and Frodo, had restless dreams as they slept in the night before leaving on their adventure in the morning. Bilbo's dreams were merely, quote, uncomfortable, and the pinnacle of his uncomfort in the first chapter of The Hobbit. Frodo's dreams, however, provide a bit more detail. The first portion is a terrifying recap of his experiences on the road with the Black Riders, but the back half of the dream is insightful. Frodo stands near a, quote, tall white tower that stands by the sea. Now, in Middle-earth, there are many towers by the sea. Perhaps this tower was one of the 3 towers built by the men of Númenor that keen-eyed hobbits could see far into the west from the Shire, though hardly any hobbit ever actually went there. Another tower near the sea would be the city of Tirion, the elven city in Valinor, where the elves could see the light of the 2 trees and yet also the sea. Another key tower might be the First Age settlement of Vinyamar. Established on the very western edge of the land, Vinyamar was a city built by Turgon before he took his people to the hidden city of Gondolin. but he left a set of armor where hundreds of years later a man would claim and then find his way to Turgon to warn him. Check out episodes 14, 29, and 30 for a recap on that tale. But regardless of which tower this is in Frodo's dream, if indeed it is a specific tower, the more interesting detail is what he hears. In his dream, Frodo hears the sea. He's never actually heard the sea while awake, and yet something deep inside him can identify that sound, as he's heard it often in his dreams. If you've visited a beach, you know the sound, the rolling of the waves, the splashing of the water, the cry of gulls. But let's go a step further, and remember how Middle-earth was created, through the music of the Ainur, the gods that created the world under Ilúvatar. And in the sea, but more specifically in water, the music of the creation still lives on, as we see in this line from Tolkien's The Silmarillion, quote, "In water there lives yet the echo of the music of the Ainur, more than in any substance else that is in this earth, and many of the children of Ilúvatar, including Frodo, I would add, hearken still unsated to the voices of the sea, and yet know not for what they listen." Why do I bring up this deep lore in a simple chapter about the hobbits at Crickhollow? Well, Gandalf told Frodo that more than one power is at work in Middle-earth, and Gildor counseled Frodo that courage would be found in unlikely places. We've explored some connections to Elbereth, the Lady of the Stars, one of the Valar who govern Middle-earth, and her influence on Frodo's quest already, before he's even left the Shire. Well, in the sea and the music of the water, another of the Valar also shows his influence on Frodo's quest. Ulmo, the Lord of the Waters, has used his music in the water to send messages and influence the children of Ilúvatar since the first age of Middle-earth. Ulmo used music to put into the heart of Galadriel's brother Finrod to found Nargothrond, and into his friend's heart, Turgon, to found Gondolin. From Turgon's line will come Elrond, the half-elven, and Finrod's story is intricately connected with Aragorn's own family line in the tale of Beren and Luthien. So you see, a simple dream by Frodo, on the eve of his adventure, clues us into the wider and deeper lore of Middle-earth. Frodo is not on this quest alone. Not only does he have his hobbit friends around him, he also has divine beings helping and encouraging him along the way, as they have done for thousands of years in the struggle against Morgoth and Sauron. But we have one more friend to examine, and we'll get to that right after this break. We're not done yet. If you like this episode, please leave a review and share with your friends. And remember to subscribe if you haven't already. We'll be right back.
You prepared your kids for their first steps. The first day at school, their first dance, that big test, all the wins along the way. With a College Savings Iowa 529 plan, you'll prepare them for even more. Register before May 31st for a chance to win a $1,000 contribution. Visit collegesavingsiowa.com to make the first move toward a bright future. College Savings Iowa. It's how parents get through college. Administered by the State Treasurer of Iowa.
Who was the primary informant for this little conspiracy? Merry, Pippin, and Fatty were all gathering clues and making plans, but one hobbit was more pivotal than the others in gathering information. Frodo never sees it coming. He never suspects who it is. The informant is none other than Samwise Gamgee. Apparently Sam has been collecting info for quite some time, even before Gandalf caught him under the window trimming the verge and charged him to help Frodo on his quest. While Frodo is still hesitant to bring his friends on the quest, Sam reminds him of the advice he has received from both Gandalf and Gildor. And during the later instance, Sam was supposed to have been asleep. Gandalf's advice was for Frodo to take someone he could trust. However, Frodo understandably feels like he can trust no one in this little conspiracy, as they've been keeping secrets from him for a while. But Merry provides some definitions for what trust is. Quote, "You can trust us to stick with you. You can trust us to keep any secret. You cannot trust us to let you face trouble alone." That level of trust comes with true friendship, as Merry emphasizes to Frodo, quote, "We are your friends, Frodo." Let's pause a moment and think about Sam here. In the chapters that we've explored earlier, we've seen the class differences between Sam and the other hobbits, Sam has been repeatedly marginalized, and even in some cases been the butt of jokes from the other hobbits. But we've already started to see a change come over Sam, a change from the devoted mere servant to chief conspirator and even on to deep and true friend. Sam, it would seem, is much smarter and craftier than anyone expected, even his own master Frodo. Frodo has been gallivanting and hobnobbing with some of the wisest people in Middle-earth, Gandalf, Gildor, the elves, and yet he couldn't see what was happening right under his nose, a fact that he plans to remedy by never again believing that Sam is asleep. Sam embodies a truism that Elrond will articulate in a few chapters, a truism that is a major theme for The Lord of the Rings. Quote, "This quest may be attempted by the weak with as much hope as the strong, yet such is often the course of deeds that move the wheels of the world. Small hands do them because they must, while the eyes of the great are elsewhere." Indeed, Frodo's eyes have been elsewhere, even as he has carried the ring thus far in the Shire. But he wouldn't have made it this small way crossing the Shire without his deeply loyal and wonderful friend, Samwise Gamgee. Join me in the next episode, where we will get lost with the hobbits in the Old Forest, and little Sam will do his best to help. Thank you for wandering Middle-earth with me today. My friends, if you enjoyed this episode, let me know by subscribing, leaving a review, and sharing with your friends. Follow me on Facebook or Instagram at Lore of the Rings Podcast. For feedback on the show, please email me using the link in the show notes. Until next Thursday, remember, not all those who wander are lost.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Baker's, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Baker's worth it every time. Baker's, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Raise your hand if this has happened to you today. You're in the middle of work, you're knocking things off the to-do list, getting stuff done, and your kid asks you to play. Do you drop everything? Do you ask them to wait a minute? What do you do? If you're like me, you don't always say yes right away. The kid moves on, you get busy, and you forget to circle back around and play. An opportunity to make a memory has been lost, and the dad guilt settles in. Not so anymore. I've developed a simple game that will enable you to take those small moments and have fun. It's called Dad's Adventure Dice Digital Edition. My 5-year-old daughter asks me nearly every day, "Can we do Dad Adventure Dice?" What follows are some quick rolls of the dice that lead to a fun activity with an intriguing twist. Within 5 or 10 minutes, we've had a lot of fun, shared a lot of laughter, and made a memory together. Download your own Dad's Adventure Dice today. Visit store.adventures.dad to download yours. That's store.adventure.dad to download Dad's Adventure Dice.